Welcome to Voices Beyond the Spectrum. Real stories, brave voices, radiant perspectives. This is the podcast for parents and caregivers of autistic and neurodivergent children and teens. I'm your host, and each week we hold space for honest conversations, shared struggles, and hard-won victories from those who truly live it. You're not alone. Your story matters, and it starts here. Welcome to Voices Beyond the Spectrum Resource Hub Edition, a podcast dedicated to sharing resources, stories, and conversations that empower individuals with disabilities, their families, and the professionals who support them. I'm your host, Karla Chinen, and today I am honored to welcome two incredible guests from the Autism Society Inland Empire. Joining us is Melissa Cardona, Senior Resource Specialist at Autism Society Inland Empire. Melissa is dedicated to supporting individuals and families by connecting them to meaningful resources and services. She works closely with community partners, caregivers, and professionals to help individuals navigate complex systems and access opportunities to promote independence, inclusion, and overall well-being. Melissa is passionate about community engagement and believes in meeting people where they are while supporting them on their journey at the pace that feels right for them. Also joining us is Dr. Fanny Cisneros, Resource Specialist with Autism Society Inland Empire. Dr. Cisneros holds a PhD in education and brings extensive experience supporting individuals and families within the autism and disability communities. Her work has focused on resource navigation, family support, education, and community programming, and inclusive practices. As both professional and a proud mother of a son with autism, she is deeply committed to helping individuals and families feel seen, supported, and empowered as they access meaningful resources and services. Melissa and Fanny, it's truly a pleasure to have both of you here today. Thank you very much for taking the time and joining me to share about the incredible work you've done with Autism Society Inland Empire. Before we dive into the organization itself, I'd love for our listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So Melissa, let's start with you. Can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself, your family, your role with Autism Inland Empire, and what got you into that passionate role that you're in?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on today. My name is Melissa Cardona. I am the Senior Resource Specialist with the Autism Society Inland Empire. I have been here almost 7.5 years serving the autism community. Prior to that, I was also at the Arc of Riverside supporting the autism community. It is a passion that I have since I have two wonderful boys with autism, a 17-year-old and a 10-year-old. And then I also have a 9-year-old with epilepsy. So that's a whole different journey I also had to dive into. And then one neurotypical 15-year-old. So 4 wonderful boys. My 17-year-old is the reason why I became passionate, being a first-time mom, not knowing anything about autism, never actually even heard the word autism. I was very young, early 20s, had no clue. So connecting with resources, connecting with the community, and seeing how much we all empowered each other made me go into the role that I am today. And the Autism Society Inland Empire has been an amazing organization to be a part of, not only because of the staff we have, but the volunteers, the panelists of adults, everybody, just the unity that the community has shown personally and the growth professionally. It has been wonderful.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I think it's always helpful for families to hear the personal stories behind the people doing this work. And now, Fanny, I'd love to hear from you as well. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the role with Autism Society Inland Empire?
Sure, great. Thank you for having us, Karla. My name is Fanny Cisneros. I am a resource specialist as well with Autism Society Inland Empire. I'm going on my second year actually with the Autism Society come July the 1st. And I have to say it's been a great match. I am a mother of a wonderful 15-year-old autistic son. And one of the things that I did when I first learned that my child was diagnosed with autism is to seek support, guidance, and resources. And one of the first organizations I found was the Autism Society Inland Empire. We started attending events, and that's one of the places I felt really connected and supported. And so a few years later, when I found out about their positions opening, I said, hey, I jumped at the chance to apply as well. Previously, I had spent almost 20 years at USC in higher ed administration. For me, it was important priority to be able to support families and individuals with autism. And I thought, what better way for me to support those families and individuals like someone supported me in my own journey as well. It's been a great match so before, and I really enjoyed working in this organization because I think that we really find ways to support our community here in Inland Empire. So yeah, I'm very gratified.
Thank you. And that's one thing that I find so powerful is that so many of us enter this space through our own personal journey with our children. And how does going through that journey with your own families has shaped so much your work that you do today? I know you dived in a little bit into it, but just maybe how you felt prior to learning about these organizations like Autism Society. How was your journey before as opposed to now that you do have all these additional resources?
I want to say I didn't know better, right? For me, I got a diagnosis and it was a piece of paper. And the doctor said, "Here you go." And that was it. And I went to work, and actually I worked at clinic. So one of the audiologists was like, "Do you know what that means?" And I was like, "No, I'll figure it out later." Like, I was very nonchalant because I had no idea. So it took someone outside of the medical field that, should have helped me, just a friend that I worked with, to explain to me, "No, this is how your journey is going to be. This is how it's, changing." And at the time of my son's diagnosis, I was also pregnant with my second. So trying to feel the joy of a newborn coming soon, to also grieving the son I thought I was going to have, to the son that now I have to change to be a better person for him and understand how he views the world through his eyes, was difficult back then because I didn't have the resources. My husband was supportive, but not supportive, didn't want to hear it, but didn't really know at the time what to do for him. He was just, working man, making sure he was able to provide for his two young children. And I have no family here in California. So starting the journey, I felt alone. So I started really just researching on the internet where to find like other parents, just because I felt like I didn't get help from the professionals at the beginning. I had to keep my distance, my trust, and I had to really build back that trust once I started finding people who understood. Maybe that doctor that I saw didn't know or understand the emotional part that came with it. So one of the things that I feel has shaped me into who I am today is being that listening ear. Some people already know what it's going to be. They just want someone on the other end to hear them out. And you don't even have to say anything. You just have to listen. And that them knowing that we understand and we know what they're going through because of our lived experience makes us feel, at least, I don't want to say fully better, but empowering, right? Knowing that, okay, that person's going through it just like me. I'm not alone. I have someone that I can connect with, because it really does take a village for us to raise our kiddos. So that I guess negativity that I had during the beginning of my older son's journey showed me how I should be moving forward, because I don't want another parent to feel how I felt just being given like, here are the resources, here's your sheet of paper, good luck, call your health insurance, who also, were just papers on their desk too. So that emotional connection I did not receive with my first one. I knew better with my second one. I was a lot more trained and knew what to do, but that shaped me who I am today when I help families, especially families starting off their autism journey.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And I know it's a very vulnerable experience. I was in a similar place as you when I received my son's diagnosis. I had just delivered my daughter 5 days before. When you're in there in that doctor's office, I completely understand. The doctor's telling you of things that your child might not be able to do right off the bat. You're still trying to process those feelings. And on top of that, my doctor's like, well, if you plan on having any more kids, there are strong links with genetics. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, now I'm only not freaking out about the diagnosis you just gave me about my son, but now I have to worry about my daughter and keeping out an eye and for signs. So I completely understand that. How about you, Fanny?
Yeah, just to echo what Melissa said, it was a very similar experience. I started noticing certain things about my son. I took him in to get sort of assessed to figure out what was going on. They didn't really say much at the beginning. When I first took him in, they said, well, let's give it some time. Let's figure out if it's something else. Boys are boys, they're develop later. And they gave me speech therapy. But I continued to see his behaviors. I continued to see how he was not hitting certain milestones anymore. And he was actually regressing in his speech. He used to be more talkative, and then he stopped talking as much. He didn't do the things that he would do in the past, play with his toys. He started lining up his toys only. He wasn't engaging with us. And so finally I said, we need to figure out what else is going on. No one else in my family had a child with a disability. So it was very new to me, to everyone, and wondering what was going on left us feeling very isolated, like Melissa mentioned. And so I started to research, I started to learn more because it started stemming and like, why is he making these noises? What is this about? I don't understand. And so I started learning more. And I went back to the same pediatrician and I said, my child has something and we need to figure out what it is. I think it's autism, but you need to assess in a manner that I feel that will help me move forward. So we ended up making an appointment, and sure enough, he was diagnosed with autism. And it was very difficult. There was a grieving phase for me. This was a child that I thought was going to grow like a neurotypical individual. He was going to be able to partake in things that, growing up, having friends, growing up, things like that. And now I envision something very different because no one ever told me, well, these are some of the options. This is what could happen. Nobody said anything. So I just kind of had to take it upon myself to research, to learn more, and to know what's going to happen with my child. This became my lifelong goal to support my child as best as I could. And I did not feel that when I first took him to the doctor, I could trust, like Melissa said, the doctors in the same way anymore. I had to know just as much, if not more, so I can then inform these professionals and say, well, this is how my child is, behaving. This is what I think he needs. So it was a journey. Especially within the Latino culture, it takes a while for parents to accept, and even grandparents. And I had to go and explain things to my parents, to my husband's parents, and figure out like, well, what does that mean? What is that like? And so that took a toll on us for a while. But I was fortunate enough that my family, my parents helped me through this process, this grieving process, and say, hey, life is life. We're going to move forward. We're going to learn from what has happened. And, don't let that define you. Your child has autism, but that's not the only thing. He is still your child. And it's true. He is a loving child, a happy child. My child has more high support needs, definitely. And so I move forward in faith and the belief that the supports that we give him and anything that happens with him, that we are doing the best that we can for him. And as long as he's happy, I think that's the most important thing for us as well. So, but it was hard at the beginning, and it takes time, I think, to process that, to come to terms with that. So,
well, thank you for sharing that. I know just remembering back to those moments reignites certain feelings inside of us that we think we're over it or we think we're done processing it, and then it starts all over again. So thank you for sharing that and almost reliving the moments again. I know it can be a little tough, but you're right. It definitely does take a village, like Melissa said, and it definitely helps when you have supportive family members. I know you mentioned the culture aspect. I've been there, done that. I've had those uncles that say that my kid only needed the chancla to get his meltdowns under control, and having to educate not only our family, even the professionals at times, as well as even our significant others, to allow them to go also through that process. Because I think for men, due to the gender expectations, they don't process the mourning as we do. And it's not so easy for them to build that village for themselves. So I know that also adds another layer of complexity in the relationships in the household. But I think because of those lived experiences, are what makes these organizations like Autism Society in Inland Empire such a meaningful resource for families to be able to connect with other parents, to be able to connect with other individuals that are going through the same thing, to not feel so alone. So for those who are hearing about your organization for the first time, can one of you share a little bit about the mission of Autism Society Inland Empire and the heart behind the work you guys do?
Yes, most definitely. So the key word out of our mission is connection. So we're here to create connections. We want to empower everybody in the local autism community with the resources that they need to live fully. That means, in a short, is we want to connect with you because we are you. We see you. We are you day to day. Yes, we're Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, phone calls, emails. Fanny does a wonderful job with our online resource guide, but that doesn't end there. In the evenings, we have our events. We're here to connect with you so that way you don't have to feel alone. We want to make sure that we're there with you every step of the way, holding your hand. And then when, I love to hear when families already venture off and then they help, it's a domino effect. Then they learned what we've taught them, and then they learn the next and next. And then it's really, for me, it's really prideful to see that knowledge extend through our families.
That's wonderful. And definitely in our community, there's no such thing as gatekeeping. We have to share the awareness. We have to, the more we share our knowledge, the more accepted our children are into the community, and not only accepted, but included. So from your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges families in our community are facing right now?
I think one of the challenges our families face is for the newly diagnosed families is seeking the support. Where do I go? What do I do? And so we touched upon this in our conversation right now about you're given a piece of paper by, whoever diagnosed your child, and that's about it. They don't really provide anything else, and you have to go out and figure out, well, how do I parent a child with autism, a child with a disability? Nobody, like I always tell parents, nobody gives us a manual, right? To say, here, this is what you need to do, ages 0 through 5, 6 to 12, adulthood. And when we get those calls, parents are always wondering, like, well, I'm just trying to see, what do you guys do? How can you help me? And having been in that situation, I take my time. I want to listen from them, what they just went through, how I can support them, and what resources they need. And once I share that with them, I always try to stay in touch and say, hey, if you ever need any other resources, support, give us a call back. We're here. Because at the end of the day, we want them to know that there is a community here for them every day. Even on Saturdays and Sundays when we have events, we are there for them, and we want them to know that they're not alone. They're not doing this, on their own, that we believe that there is support, that there are resources to help them and help them navigate this reality, this journey that they're going through, and that they are seen and they are included, their families and individuals. And I think that's one of the best things that we can do, because this can be so overwhelming for families, having to deal with the school setting, with regional center, with the medical aspect of it. There's so much out there, and we have to meet them where they are, right? We have to help them, but we also have to share those resources and say, I know that it's a lot. Take it a little bit by little bit, and then come back. And if you have questions, follow up. We're here for you as well. And we have a wonderful online resource guide as well, where parents can look at it whenever they have time, because sometimes, it's difficult for them to give us a call or shoot us an email, but they can go, if they just put their child to sleep at 12 o'clock at night, right after a difficult time, they can go to the website and say, look, I'm looking for social recreational opportunities. What's out there? And you will find that our online resource guide is one of the most comprehensive resource guides available in the entire Inland Empire, that stems from, therapies, mental health, inclusive events. It's all available and ready to look through on the website as well. And so I think that's a powerful tool as well, that parents can look through and see that, hey, this is a really extensive resource guide, and it's free and it's readily available, like I said. So these are some of the things that we try to do to create an inclusive environment and community for our autism families and individuals. So
Thank you very much. And can you guys share some of the programs, events, and supports currently available through Autism Society Inland Empire?
Yes, I'll share a few that we have coming up. Our biggest ones that we've been doing monthly is our HCBS training. So that's what families need to know about Inland Regional. It goes over their IPP, what's important to you, what's important for you. So that way they understand the importance of the IPP as it goes through every transitional point of their children's lives, and how that documentation will shape what services they get from Regional Center. Those events we have also on our website. We have the fun stuff that we also have now for the whole family. We have our summer movie, Toy Story 5, that will be playing at Rancho Mirage. Because we serve San Bernardino and Riverside County, and I know Coachella Valley is part of the Riverside County, it just seems so far. We do have events out there as well. So that's the Rancho Mirage. And then one of our biggest event, I don't call it it is an inclusive event, but it is a private event only for our autism community and IDD community as well, is where we rent out the Cove, the water park. So that way everybody has the ability to end their summer with a water park activity. I know it's difficult for us to go when it's open to the general public. So that's why, as much as we are all for inclusivity, we also like to do private events for those that have a harder time going to the inclusive events. So we rent out the Cove for August 22nd, which is on a Saturday. So if you guys are available, definitely come join the Autism Society. It'll be a nice day to beat the heat. And Fanny, do you want to go ahead and talk about a little bit of the...
Sure. One of the programs that we have that we're always excited about to talk about is our Meet, Greet, and Play. This is geared towards the little one, 0 to 6, and their parents. And like I mentioned previously, this is a great place to connect with other parents who were just newly diagnosed or, have children who are already, along the pathway, but they want to connect with other parents as well. They have little ones. And so we have our Meet, Greet, and Play usually at the end of the month in the city of Fontana, and we have it at Fontana Kids Indoor Playground. But it's a great program, and I would hope that many families that are interested to come out. We always have either Melissa or I are there to answer questions, to provide resources as well. But one of the events we're going to be having in July is our little splash bash, and that is for our little ones, 0 to 6. It's going to be held in the city of Rancho Cucamonga on July 25th from 3 to 5. So if you're interested, please give us a call or connect with us so that we might go ahead and add to it. It's a wonderful time to connect, like I said, with parents and for families to feel like they have a place, a home they can, just feel themselves and feel, connected to others and community. So yeah, we're excited about that.
That's
And I want to
awesome.
add, I know we keep saying children's. I want to add for our adults. Don't want to miss out our teens and adults.
Yeah.
We do have on our website on ieautism.org an events calendar. For our adults, we have our Rancho meetups where they meet every other Friday. It's virtual, and then they also have some in-person meetups. I know in August they're going to be meeting at Ontario Mills to kind of get together. There is a facilitator there. It's for our independent adults. We also have adults. Whether they have a formal diagnosis or not, there is a support group that meets once a month. We have support groups for parents. We also, apart from the support groups, we have online art class. We also have our initiatives that we do with law enforcement, first responders, which is our blue envelope. We do training at safety fairs as well. That's one we're also going to have in August 15th in Fontana. All of our events seem to be in Fontana. That is our safety fair that's coming up. So come out and interact with first responders, AMR, ask them questions, get to meet your neighborhood law enforcement. It's important to keep that open communication with our law enforcement. So this is a safe place to be able to have conversations with them and make sure we shape our children, our teens and adults to feel comfortable and safe with those in uniforms in case of emergencies, hopefully not, but just in case, we want to make sure that they feel that they're trusted members of the community. We also do educational webinars. We invite subject matter experts to talk about different topics every month. We have one that is geared for children and teens, and then we have one also geared for adults. So we're growing. We're always doing a little and moving to do more. We're going to have our holiday parties. Those are still to be determined, trying to find venues that are able to serve the 39,000 families that we serve. So we try to find space that we can welcome all, just because we know serving both counties, we want to make sure we're able to meet with quality and quantity, right? So I know it's a hard task, but we definitely think we do a great job at doing it. So those are other programs and events that we have as well.
Thank you very much for sharing. And for those, our listeners, if you also want to tune into the podcast we did have about the Blue Envelope with Dr. CJ Cook, Corporal Makeda, and as well as Audrey from Autism Society, they did an amazing job explaining the initiative for that connection with law enforcement and supporting those families that have children with disabilities or adults that are driving with disabilities to make it an easier interaction when you do. And thank you very much for sharing all those events and resources. You guys are amazing. The organization is amazing, and they really are. I've met them in person, many of the Autism Society Inland Empire members, and they are all in it with heart. And they really do as much as they can for the families so they don't see themselves in the same situations as they spoke about before, with no community, no guidance, no inclusive events or even private events. Because I know, for example, my son, he has profound needs, and it is hard for our families to sometimes go to those water parks without the occasional look or the occasional uncomfortableness in that regard. So in those situations, we are so blessed to have those events that are, for example, Autism Society Inland Empire puts on for the families. And those are not easy tasks to coordinate and to do, like Melissa mentioned, but when so many hearts go into it, it makes it possible. So thank you very much, ladies, both for sharing this. And finally, is there one message or piece of encouragement that you would like the families listening today to walk away with? And I'll start with you, Melissa.
Me, I would say to give yourself grace. I know I'm thinking if could tell my 20-year-old self this, I would say give myself grace because I felt like I had to do everything, right? You have to get the ABA, the speech, that like to make a powerful impact. And yes, early intervention is key. I'm not going to take away from that, but give yourself grace and celebrate every victory. Don't try to do everything at once. Try to do it at the pace of your loved one. Because I know we want to see, well, I'll say I wanted to see progress. I wanted to see everything all at once, but I needed to really slow myself down and see what he wanted, right? It's not what I wanted. And that was a really hard lesson for me to learn back then. I feel bad because my first one, because he was my first child, it was my learning. My second one with autism, I did it a lot differently. They're both very similar. So I kind of knew what they needed, but I felt like I was more pushy with my first one to get all the support. My second one, I'm like, okay, what do you need versus what do I need is how I was in the beginning. So giving ourselves grace and also don't be afraid to ask for help. It's scary. This journey, honestly, the unknown. I will share, my son was diagnosed severe and he is now 17. He drives, he has a job, he's going, like the things that I wrote in a journal of what I thought my future was going to be with him is not even like what it is today. And I mean, I did the therapies, I worked hard with him. And you know, when you meet one person with autism, you definitely are meeting one person with autism, but I asked for a lot of help. I was not afraid to take him out. Yes, I got the stairs. I mean, he was, I have like PTSD. He was like the hardest toddler I ever had. My second one, because I think I had that experience, I felt like more at ease. And you know, you're young and by yourself and with the newborn, it was a disaster. But having that network and I really had to depend on friends. Again, no family. And I know a lot of us live in isolation because all the friends we had before kids, I mean, I hope that people still have them, but I know a lot of them, they get scared. They don't know what to say or they want to say the wrong thing. So for them, it's easier to exit. And I get it. I respect it. But build your network, that village that you meet from when you're that young. I'm still friends with those moms that cried on my shoulder and I cried on their shoulders. And our kids are now seniors. And we're like, oh my gosh, how did we go from our crazy wild toddler years to like now our kids are transitioning to adults. So it's wonderful to know that the journey that we're in it together till the end. It never ends. And don't be alone. You're not alone. There is a community. We are out here. Yes, it takes some of us a little bit more to get out in the community. But I'll tell you what, like when I wear an autism shirt, I can't, or anything related to autism, you too, like it sparks conversations in the grocery store, Target. I mean, getting my nails done, the lady's like, oh, I have a nephew. And then we just exchange conversations, exchange resources, and we're out there. We might not always be podcasting it, but I'm telling you, someone has a loved one out there with a disability, not just autism, anything. Connect with them. You're not alone. And that's how we build our village.
It's a wonderful advice. And I think it's going to come in handy for many of those moms that are barely starting the journey. And like you mentioned, it can be a very isolating world. So getting out there and getting the resources. Also, as moms, I feel like sometimes when we first get the diagnosis, we hyper focus on that one kiddo. And we, like you said, you want to get every therapy, read every book out there, look at every website available, which is great. Information is great, but also give yourself that grace and give yourself that time back as well, because you are not good to anyone if you don't take care of yourself as well. So definitely. Thank you very much, Melissa. How about you, Fanny?
For me is never give up hope. You know, you don't know what tomorrow will bring. So never give up hope in the sense to believe that your child can, will do something different, will do something new. And that's what I've learned through my child. Initially, when I thought, oh, he's going to need higher supports, he's not going to be able to do this, he's not going to be able to do that. And every day he surprises me with different things. And So it's wonderful to see that growth in him. And it's also important to forgive yourself as a mom. Like we want to, like you and Melissa have mentioned, we want to have everything, all the therapies, everything covered. And sometimes it's just not possible. And you need to take the time to say, you know what, today wasn't one of those days and that's okay. We'll try again tomorrow and find joy every day. I think that's so important. We get so hung up in the things that, therapies, this behaviors or anything else, but we need to find joy in our days with our children as well and say, hey, today we were able to do this. Today we were able to have fun and, play this or go eat that. And I think that's a wonderful thing too, to be able to find joy in our days with our children. Because if not, then what's the point of everything that we do, right? And we want to find community and we want to find connection, but we also want to find that joy in those communities and in those connections as well. And so, like Melissa mentioned, when we wear these shirts, we take it to the next level. We think it's so important for us to be able to connect with families and to be able to provide that sense of support, to be seen and heard. And so I think that for us, it's not just a professional calling, it's a personal calling as well, that we want to ensure that everybody feels connected. One of the things I also want to mention is that we do have a newsletter if anyone's interested to sign up for our newsletter so they can learn more about our events, our webinars, our online support groups as well. So that's another way they can stay connected with us. And so they can have firsthand, all the information, events, and anything that if they ever need us, we're available through that method as well. So,
Well, thank you very much, Fanny. And that's correct. When we go to those doctor's offices, right, they give us the comparison to the typical child and where they are in all the different milestones. And we constantly start getting into that comparison mindset where we forget to really just truly enjoy them as individuals in their unique ways and see the joy that they do bring. Like, I know my son, he's been my biggest teacher. He's really taught me how to humble myself in a lot of regards and live the moment. I think we don't live the moment enough. And he's definitely taught me to enjoy every single moment, every single triumph for our families. And obviously, for every family looks different. So, thank you very much for sharing that. And for our listeners, I will go ahead in the body of the podcast, provide all the links from Autism Inland Empire, from the newsletter to the website, so you guys can stay informed and continue building that community. But thank you again, Melissa. Thank you again, Fanny, for being on the podcast. We really appreciate you sharing the resources to our families. And till next time, thank you very much for joining us on Voice Beyond the Spectrum Resource Hub Edition, and with empathy always. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Voices Beyond the Spectrum Resource Hub Edition. A special thank you to Melissa Cardona and Dr. Fanny Cisneros from Autism Society Inland Empire for sharing their experience, insight, and the incredible work they do to support individuals and families throughout our community. Voices Beyond the Spectrum Resource Hub Edition is brought to you by Empathy for Autism California, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing education, resource, advocacy, and community support for individuals with disability and their families. Through trainings, support groups, community events, educational resources, and collaborative partnerships, our mission is to empower families, promote inclusion, and help create a more informed and supportive community for all. If this episode resonated with you, we encourage you to subscribe, follow, share, or leave a review. By sharing these conversations, you help us reach more families, caregivers, educators, professionals, and self-advocates who may benefit from the resources and stories shared on this platform. Music production for Voice Beyond the Spectrum was provided by Brad Kalu. Piano performance were provided by Brad Kalu and Sophia Chinen. You can find Voices Beyond the Spectrum Resource Hub Edition on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and YouTube. To learn more about Empathy for Autism California, access resources, exploring upcoming events, or connect with our community, visit our online or follow us on social media. Until next time, continue learning, continue advocating, continue building community, and remember that every voice matters. With empathy always, I'm Karla Chinen, and thank you for listening to Voices Beyond the Spectrum.